The all-important Save America Act is heading to the Senate after it narrowly passed in the House this week, and Democrats are rushing to trash the legislation that an overwhelming majority of Americans support.
It's the equivalent of a show me your papers law to be able to exercise your fundamental constitutional right to vote.
The so-called SAVE Act is not about free and fair elections.
We're going to fight him on the SAVE Act for the voter ID. It's just not right.
Well, now President Trump is floating the idea of an executive order to require voter ID if the bill fails to make it through Congress. Let's hope it doesn't get to that, though. Joining us now for tonight's Big Close-Up is Early Vote Action founder Scott Presler. Now, Scott was influential and so important, so valuable in convincing Republicans to pass this legislation. The work is not done, but he's done great work. Scott, you know I'm a big fan of yours. We've talked so many times, and I'm so happy to have you. You put in the work, as you always do. But the Republican Study Committee invited you to Capitol Hill for a members-only lunch last week. Can you give us a little insight into your conversation? Take us in that room and tell us what we need to know.
Thank you to the Big Weekend Show and Tammy. So the Republican Study Committee had me for an entire day, and let me tell you, these people put me to work. We started off a very early morning with Abe Hamadeh and Chairman Brian Steele, who did the Mega Act, and we were also joined by Mary Miller and Celeste Malloy. And so I had an opportunity to talk to members of Congress to their faces, not only about upcoming election integrity reform legislation, but ultimately that if we don't pass this legislation, I feel very strongly that voters are not going to turn out and that we will lose our majority. And throughout the entire day, Tommy and team, I had the opportunity to speak to over 50 members of Congress in one single day. And my message was on behalf of my 2.4 million followers, basically saying, pass the Save America Act or bust. Otherwise, the Republican voters are not going to come out this November.
You know, Scott, one of the things Democrats are saying, it's almost like they've come full circle. Now they care about rural voters, I guess. One of the things they're saying is that rural voters, well, it'd be hard for them to register to vote under the SAVE Act because for whatever reason, I guess they don't have Kinkos or they don't have birth certificates or name change forms. I can't think of a group of people more averse to government papers maybe than the Amish, and you're able to get a bunch of them to register to vote. So with all the experience you have in Pennsylvania and Georgia and other places getting rural Americans to vote, do you feel like the SAVE Act would have prohibited you or deterred you or stopped those voters from registering?
No, absolutely not. That is a bunch of phony baloney. And in fact, I'll tell you, in talking with lawmakers, I even reached out to Congressman Chip Roy, and I reached out to Senator Mike Lee saying, how are we going to make sure that our beautiful Amish are going to be able to vote? And I've heard that there's even going to be a religious exemption. And, you know, I was at the Great American Outdoor Show today in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I had an older black man come up to me, and he goes, Scott, are you the architect of the Save America Act? I said, no, sir, but I'm a supporter of it. And he goes, you give a message to Chuck Schumer. I said, yes, sir. He goes, it's offensive to my community that Democrat senators, especially white Democrat senators, are saying that we are incapable of getting ID. Yeah. And so this is an issue that 84% of Americans support. We're going through with the passing the Save America Act.
Scott, I think another piece of misinformation that's being pushed by Democrats regarding this legislation is about how it might pass the Senate. Democrats are claiming that Republicans would have to abolish the Senate's filibuster completely, but that's not really the case, is it? There's already a talking filibuster in place. And so tell us a little bit about that process and how Senate Republicans can pass this bill.
Yes, this is critical because, as you may know, Senator Susan Collins, while she is supporting the Save America Act, she specifically said that she is not for nuking the filibuster. So when I use my language on social media, I'm very, very clear in saying, bring the Save America Act to the Senate floor for debate. When I use that language, I'm really saying, basically, do the talking filibuster. What does that mean? We have 50 senators on board, so make sure that we are not shutting down conversation, but we are actually allowing the Save America Act to go to the Senate floor. And any senators that are opposed to the legislation will then have an opportunity to speak against it. And the very moment that Democrats are not speaking out on the floor against the Save America Act, that is the opportunity for 50 senators plus a beautiful Vice President J.D. Vance to ultimately pass the legislation. And so we're trying to make sure the Senate actually does right by the American people. We're making them do something very noble and actually work, and we can pass this legislation with a simple 51 votes.
Let me ask you, Scott, I've been watching your great success for quite some time, and I know you are applying great amount of pressure on Leader Thune to finally get the job done, get this thing over to the floor. Let's get a vote on it so that the American people's voices aren't disenfranchised by those who have no right to either be here or shouldn't be voting anyway. Having an ID would seem to be the very bare minimum. By the way, I saw a picture online. I don't know if you saw this. They have to have an ID to vote on Capitol Hill. Did you see that? When you see things like this and then you hear Democrats say, oh, it's offensive to have an ID, it just doesn't make sense and it doesn't hold muster.
You know, I was privileged to have the opportunity to have Congressman Derek Van Orden out of Wisconsin show me around the Capitol. And he even pulls out his card right there and goes, Scott, this is the only thing that allows me electronically to vote right here. Why don't the Democrats fight against that? This is common sense. 76% of Black Americans support it, 82% of Latino Americans support it, and 84% of the American people support photo voter ID. When do 84% of Americans agree on anything? This will be a slam dunk. But one last thing, I offer a grave warning. If Republican senators do not pass the SAVE Act, you are not only going to be retiring members of your House colleagues, they are going to lose their seats and very likely the majority, but we are likely to lose the Alaska Senate seat. We are likely to lose perhaps Maine if we don't pass the Save America Act, and we are likely to lose North Carolina. So don't pass it at your own risk, peacefully and respectfully.
Yeah, also got to get rid of that ranked choice voting along the way.
Scott Presler, you are a patriot.
Amen.
You do the hard work. We really appreciate you for it, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for the opportunity. Let's bring the Save America Act to the Senate floor for debate.
You're exactly right about that.
Thanks, Scott.
Joey, I want to pick up where Scott left off because I think his warning was very important to Republicans. It's one thing, we talk on this table, we all believe in voter ID. We all think you should have to have it. Most Americans do. But I think his warning to Republicans saying, if you don't do this, such simple common sense thing, and you don't show the American people that you can actually fight for what we sent you there to fight for, they're not going to vote for you in the midterms. They might stay home. I think it's an important message. Do you think Republicans are going to hear it?
I don't know. I think it was Tim Burchett was on today, and he said, let me remind you that President Trump won the landslide, not Congress. And we would be right to enact President Trump's agenda, not 435 agendas of our own in order to get forward. I think that is such a great way to frame it. I expect 435 different opinions on certain things, what to wear today, maybe, things of that nature. But when it comes to a mandate that the American people gave to our government, to the entirety of the American government, it doesn't get more clear than President Trump's election because it was very clear what he was running on. We don't always have that in a presidential candidate. We rarely have it in a congressional candidate, but it was very clear. These are the issues. One of the first and foremost was immigration and securing our elections. And the fact that Congress can't figure out a way to make this happen. I don't want to filibuster the time here, but one thing that is true is when you propose a piece of legislation from the Republican side and you're in charge, and you put it into committee and you put it on the House floor or the Senate floor, what Americans think would happen is that Democrats would bring their ideas and say, hey, we don't like it as is, let's bring these ideas into it. They don't do that. They withhold that until the vote and then say, that's why I didn't vote for it. So what Scott was talking about was actually debate the bill. If you've got better ideas, the Amish communities are great. I don't know exactly how it works, but I don't know that they partake in birth certificates and things of that nature. And so Scott said, hey, religious exemption. That's the first time I've heard anyone talk about that. And so there might be things, legitimate concerns that you can bring to debate, but the partisanship is so visceral that even if they have a good idea to make a decent piece of legislation better, they won't bring it because they don't want Republicans to ultimately get the credit for it. That's what our Congress does. That's how they govern us. That's what makes it despicable.
Yeah, Kaylee, I think it's a great idea. Get these Democrats on the record. I think that Republicans are more than willing to find a way to make sure that married women and rural voters and Amish voters and minority voters can get the assistance they need to get that voter ID and get that picture ID. So I think let's hear the Democrat opposition. Let's get this in front of the American people.
Yeah, put them on record. Make them prove to 80% of the country that they don't actually care about actual voting rights and preserving our democracy, which of course is all they claim to do. And I mean, look, when it comes to the filibuster, to be clear, all that this would be doing when we talk about the talking filibuster, it is enforcing the historical precedent of what the Senate's filibuster always was. You're not actually changing any existing rules. These are rules that exist on the book. And I agree with Scott that if Senate Republicans do not get their act together and do this, you are going to have voters stay home because they are going to be demoralized. Because what they are going to realize is that Senate Republicans had the power to do what the voters sent them to do the entire time, and they didn't do it. And this really gets me going because they are sitting on all the power that they need to enact not just this legislation, but every single one of Trump's policies if the House can also pass it. And they are hiding behind the filibuster as an excuse not to govern and not to do their jobs. They are way too comfortable in Washington, D.C., and it's up to Republican voters, independents, and maybe even Democrats to send them packing.
Time to get uncomfortable. Kevin, Kaylee and I are both super fired up about this one. I've been saying all week, all month, it's all that matters to me. But what do you think? How do you think Democrats, if they are really put on record, they already are, but if they are really put on record about this, they've said Jim Crow 2.0, this is a show me your papers. How do you think they squirm around with this one?
They're going to do exactly that because they just don't care. And here's the big difference, and I'm glad you said this, Kaylee. Whether it's the filibuster, recess appointments, the Republicans like to play nice. The Democrats are absolutely ferocious. If they were in power and the shoe were on the other foot, you don't think it wouldn't take that long for them to make this happen. I think the Republicans have to get tough. They have to make sure that they're honoring their role, which is to do what their voters sent them to Washington to do. Do it or be gone. We're going to find out soon if that's the case.
President Trump faced down 2 assassination attempts. The least that Republicans can do is get this across the finish line.
Exactly.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.